Andy Scott of Sweet talks about their big hit, Love is Like Oxygen. I'm John Beaudin from Rock History Music. Love is Like Oxygen was one of those songs that when you heard it, especially that opening riff that Andy came up with, you'd have to stare at the speakers and go, what the heck? What is that? Here's Andy Scott.
When did you come up with that riff for Love is Like, that's etched. When did you come up with that?
We were in a studio in France and our sound engineer, stage sound, our crew, they all came with us to the recording session. A couple of them stayed on. We didn't need everybody there. One of them, the sound guy, he was a good keyboard player, and he was working on this. He said, look, he was a big fan of bands like Supertramp and Genesis, and so he would play these piano pieces. And I said, I think you've got 3 bits there. And he said, it'd be brilliant. You know, he said he was kind of working on like a mini rock opera. And I said, well, I definitely think you've got 3 bits there that I could do something with. So I just got him to record them. You know, and I said, do that bit, then that bit, then that bit. And while he was doing the double tempo thing with the piano, I just went, right, he's playing an E minor there. If I was to play the A flat and G, and it just gelled from there onwards. And it's not funky, but it was that chop, you know. I mean, I'd heard people like Robert Fripp and, you know, doing these really odd chop things, you know, and, you know, it's in there somewhere. It's got to come out at some point. I had the lyrics for a couple of years, just had nothing that I could use them with. We recorded Love is Like Oxygen a little bit arse about face. I hadn't quite finished the vocal part of it, but I knew where we were going musically, and we had a fantastic arranger involved because he was doing some orchestration on the Level-Headed album with a 40-piece orchestra. And he also played keyboards on a couple of the tracks. And I just said to him, this is the song. And he went away for a couple of hours, sat while we were doing other things in the studio. And he came back and he'd written out these musical parts. And he went to the piano and he said, what, you mean something like this? And I went, yeah, that'll do. And he then tells Steve what to play, which notes, because Steve was going to follow the chords. And he said, no. He said, we're thinking of this in symphonic. You know, you hold that note there, and the guitar will play a B flat chord, but with a dropped A in it. And I'll play this. And drums Mick was just intuitive. The whole middle section of that 7-minute song, there was no tick-tock, no click track. It's Mick with a hi-hat counting bars. And it just shows you how good a timing that was, because Jeff, the arranger, he had to put his main pianos to that click track afterwards. It was brilliant. It was a work of art. And I have to say, once we got the backing track, it's all now coming together in my head. And it was a Friday when we finished it in the evening. And I said, I'm going back to my house out of London. I would have stayed in London and got back into the studio on the Saturday. But I said, just give me a little while. And I went back to my house at a home studio, set the track up on my 8-track, and then did all the vocals and came back into the studio on the Sunday morning, because everybody was starting to say, we don't really have a single on the Level-Headed album, something that's immediately. And I said, well, I don't think this is a single, you know, it's 7 minutes long, you know. And they went, well, Queen did it with Bohemian Rhapsody. When they heard what I'd done, they went, well, can we copy that? And I said, well, I think that Mick, you and I should sing the choruses, because he had the other high voice. So I sang the lead in the chorus because we needed to get it down, and it stayed. Brian didn't sing that, and we put a guide vocal down for the verse. And it was at that point in his life when Brian was not having the best of times. And I remember saying to our tour manager, look, bring him in first thing in the morning. Make sure, you know, they stayed in a hotel. They made sure he went to bed. And I think it's the best vocal he'd done in years. The verses on Love is Like Oxygen, they were fantastic.
We'll have more from Andy Scott in the next 3-4 days. Make sure you comment on our videos, subscribe to our channel, and share our videos. And hey, buy a Rock History Music t-shirt. Links in the description of this video where you can support the channel even more. We'd appreciate that. I'm John Beaudin. This is Rock History Music.